You idiot. You're lying again. Listen to this sentence.
I just go.
Okay,
I talked
Destiny?
about age of consent, but okay.
I chain fucked woman of the age of 18, 19, barely legal woman on the east coast of America non-stop, okay? And I don't give a flying shit.
Hello guys, Lantern Gaming Studios here. Welcome to Montreal in the province of Quebec. A province which is home to yours truly, as well as one of the internet's greatest minds, who I thought I'd talk about in this video. Jean-François Garipi, internet streamer, neuroscientist, and an alt-right eugenist. In other words, a pretty racist person. And if that sounds a little too dark for you, then maybe don't watch this video because it only gets worse from here.
Content disclaimer here. The political views of the people presented in this video are not representative of mine, and this video does not serve as a endorsement of said views. Also, other content warning, don't harass anyone. Harassment is bad, okay guys? Jean-François, he was born in Canada, and he studied at the University of Montreal. In 2008, he received the Next Generation Award from the Society of Neuroscience for a report about the respiratory systems of lampreys. In September 2011, he started working as a researcher for the Institute of Brain Science at Duke University. In 2013, he would make the first videos of his YouTube channel. These videos were part of a crowdfunded show called NeuroTV. Videos in which JF would appear with other neuroscientists and biologists to share their knowledge on these fields. The educational content on this channel was aimed at teaching the average YouTube viewer about things that would otherwise require a college/university level education to learn about. Things were going pretty well for JF's scientific career until September 2015 when he announced that he was leaving Duke University. His Facebook post on the matter details how, in JF's view, the academic community prioritized money over meaningful scientific research. The Facebook post caught the attention of left-wing publication Slate that put in an article about experts leaving their university jobs. In hindsight, it's probably that he got kicked from Duke University for something unrelated, but I cannot find any document proving so. In Jean's private life, things were also not looking too great either. In mid-2015, he went through a messy divorce with his third wife, which was followed by a custody trial over their newborn child. The available court documents paint JF as a pretty unhinged individual. In the documents, there's a psychiatric evaluation which claims that JF has, quote, a concerning lack of empathy, need to control the other person's behaviors, emotions, and thinking. Also, apparently, JF wanted to take this to Dr. Phil, so yeah, there's that. His custody battle would wage on until eventually losing it in 2017. JF's visa was expiring on top of that, and without an anchor baby, he was on the path of being sent back to Canada. Aside the threat of having to leave America, the events of 2015 would forever change JF, as he would enter a very brutal midlife crisis, as well as turn his YouTube channel and career path in a very different direction.
If I were a hoe, even just for a day.
In 2015, JF would make a few appearances on the Drunken Peasants podcast. In these early YouTuber collabs, JF is surprisingly normal. On top of that, he was possibly a left-winger at the time.
Anyone who was thinking, like, maybe I'll vote for a third-party candidate, or I'll vote, for who I actually think should win, they're just looking at that Republican and being like, holy shit, this Democrat might be the only thing standing between me and that crazy Republican fuck who basically might as well believe the earth is flat.
Yeah, and that's a point of politics where
If you have a terrible opponent that people want to avoid, you don't have to be very good on the left wing. All you have to do is a viable alternative that's at the center. I think that's the problem of your two-party system. It's that you will never get a true option for a more left-wing person, simply
Right.
because the Democrats aren't doing enough to gather the vote of those who want to avoid the Republicans.
He would make other appearances on the show over the years, even as his views became extreme.
The only way you'll ever contribute to scientific knowledge is if you let me cut you in thin slices after you're dead.
Oof, that didn't age well. Anyways, in late 2015, JF uploaded a few videos on his channel dunking on feminists, but he does so in a very autistic, pseudo-intellectual manner. Like, during these entire videos, he's just grasping at straws.
But we're looking at cheating through a lens of who's entitled to what. Because I'm dating someone, that automatically means that I have a right to their body.
I may not have a right to their body just because I date them. However, if they have promised some sort of loyalty, or if we are married, then they are in a contract with me, and this contract specifically stipulates that both spouses are committed not to cheat on each other. Therefore, it is reasonable for one spouse to expect the loyalty of the other, and to be disappointed if they get cheated on. That's because the spouse who gets cheated on has followed his part of the contract, and has limited their own sexual freedom, and now they realize that they have done so for no reason.
And paired with the very basic presentation, the videos are basically unwatchable. He would also try to launch a podcast with a feminist to debate on various social issues. This didn't go anywhere. It's obvious that his divorce is a reason for him making this type of content. However, there is another source of inspiration here. See, back in the early days of YouTube, there were these pseudo-intellectual YouTubers called the Skeptics, who would give their take on various trending topics of discussion: religion, conspiracies, feminism, and Gamergate. Okay, so for the unaware, Gamergate is a movement that started on the internet in 2014. It was about ethics in video game journalism. As time went on, the movement got politicized and turned into a critique of progressive politics in the current time. The skeptics, or at least a lot of them, being in support of their fellow gamers, and the 2016 election coming up around this time, there were a lot of skeptics becoming popular at the time for dunking on the social justice warriors, many of them being right-wing, as you might expect. One of these right-wingers was a man named Andy Warski.
If I were a hoe, even just for a day, I would spread my legs wide open, and with my vagina you could play.
While not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed, the man knew how to bring people together. His series Warski Live would feature multiple people from the skeptic space and beyond to discuss whatever topic. Perhaps I'm giving our man over here a little too much credit. The live streams just consisted of him recording Skype calls without anything more to it. The streams were like most of his other content, low effort. One day, one of the skeptics, Rage After Storm, posted an infamous video where she promotes a racist theory. I'm not sure if YouTube's current automated system will appreciate if I say the theory by name, so for the sake of this video, I will call it skin color realism. Basically, the theory states that the darker you are, the dumber you will be. Episode 55 of Warski Live, which was streamed in June of 2017, was dedicated to Rage's video. The skeptics largely condemned this video, and the ones on the livestream, not wanting to look like pussies, decided to dedicate this episode to debunking said video. The skeptic who put in the most work into attacking skin color realism to the point of making a whole series about it was YouTuber Crown and T. Since Rage wasn't coming on stream to debate, those present would take a look at some articles she had cited as sources. These questionable sources would try to provide cultural and political reasons to justify their theory. Their arguments were easily debunked by Kraut. Because of this, a lot of skeptics had faith in him. There were a few YouTubers who came to the defense of Rage After Storm's video. Those ones were from the alt-right. I don't think I need to explain what the alt-right is. Kraut would try to argue with these YouTubers about genetics, which would prove more difficult. Kraut may have studied the humanities, but he is no biologist. Well, it's not like these alt-righters were biologists either, except for Jean-François Guérépi. JF had been defending skin color realism since early 2017. JF would critique some of Kraut's videos, making fun of their writing, and pointing out where Kraut would make rookie mistakes. For example, there's this video where a theory about reproductive strategies is being discussed. There's a spectrum being shown, where on one end you have, quote, R-type species, and on the other end you have, quote, K-type species. Fishes lean towards being K-type. Kraut knows this, but he falsely assumes that almost all fishes must lay eggs because of that.
Reproductive organs. R-types require no such thing. They lay eggs and nurture them until they hatch, albeit with the exception of some shark species that give birth to living young. But
They lay eggs, with the exception of some shark species that give birth to live young. Kraut, did you Google before you did this shit? Viviparity means giving live birth. There are all sorts of animals, many fishes, that give birth to live animals.
He also screws up again later in the video.
reproduction happens through the trout swimming upriver to mate. The male does not remain with the female. The pregnancy is very short, with the female
brown trouts do not get pregnant.
Now, what does this say about the world? Probably nothing. There aren't proper studies on skin color realism that JF could cite, so his beliefs are driven by his intuition. Regardless, JF was able to gain a modest amount of popularity with the alt-right audience for poking holes in Kraut's arguments. Now Kraut, on the other hand, would get completely gangbanged by the internet. Had he just made a few bad videos, he would have been okay, but it wasn't just the videos. Rage After Storm was operating a Twitter account called Kipper Central for UK political party UKIP, as some sort of job. Rage After Storm was operating a Twitter account called Kipper Central for UK political party UKIP as some form of job. In June, Kraut would at the Kipper Central account on Twitter, trying to get the attention of the other people running the account to, well, get her fired. And Kraut succeeded in doing so. Now, from the outside looking in, her firing seems natural to me. Kraut or not, most political parties that are in the mainstream don't want to be associated with the alt-right. But I digress. Regardless, the alt-righters and fans of Rage thought this was a low blow, that it was scummy. There was also another case where a video of JF was reported and taken down around this time. All signs pointed towards Kraut being the culprit. But where things get really messy is with Coach Red Pill. The YouTuber CRP, a detractor of Kraut, had a thread made on him on Kiwi Farms. The first post of the thread featured his, quote, docs, as well as some stuff about his past. Most of what was featured in the original post is not that interesting outside of a business dispute, which I will discuss in a moment. Coach Red Pill was quick to blame Kraut for his docs being out there. In fact, he was claiming Kraut was trying to dox him even before it happened, weirdly enough. King of Bull, the person responsible for the, quote, doxing, had gotten the info through a middleman. In late 2017, there were leaks being shared privately and publicly of a Discord server where Kraut was in charge, and many skeptic YouTubers had been gathered. And a few professionals, as well as some pretty questionable individuals. Supposedly, the quote Discord Academy was used for research purposes, but it was also being used to scheme.
Operation Red Mackerel. Goal: to feed the opposition false or useless information of the movements or acts of the Allied forces, to gain the trust of the opposition and thereby cause information havoc and distress. Execution: the construction of a shadow server, where archived or staged conversations and information will be posted. A SOC account controlled by the Allied forces will collect evidence on the shadow server and approach the opposition, setting off stage 3. ending in the desired effect. Total control of oppositional informational networks. Stage 1. The construction of a shadow server. Over 2 weeks of staged conversations prior to the next media launch. Stage 2. The collection of evidence to be reviewed by proper channels and greenlit for dispersion. Stage 3. The approach of the opposition by insider forces, trying to feed useless information that was cleared in Stage 2, gaining trust. Stage 4. Feeding false information to cause minor disturbances, using false information that is too good not to be used, and observing the effect on the opposition media. When cleared by proper channels, advance to Stage 5. Stage 5. Feeding information of a high-risk nature, false doxes of allied forces, false nudes, etc. Desired effect, full control of trusted opposition informational networks.
It was revealed that it was people from the server who were responsible for the flagging of one of JF's videos.
Here's the admin I talked to in the morning. You know Habib, right, Jeff?
Oh yeah.
Cool. And he's lying? How, like about what?
Yeah, something that you called me out on as well.
Yeah.
And I think since JF been here, I think I better explain myself. And yes, I still stand by flagging your video, JF.
Yeah, I called you out on Skype.
Yeah.
That was
I get
bullshit.
called out on it a lot. And yeah, I understand. I understand people that are against false flagging, but I wouldn't call it false flagging because false flagging means that I flagged for the wrong reason.
No,
I
but
flagged
you-
it for a breach of privacy.
One screenshot shows a certain Liz calling for the video to be reported. It was suggested that she did that because supposedly she wanted to fuck JF. But he wasn't interested, according to JF's word.
Zeph seems to be in a loving relationship with another YouTuber named Liz Reptile, who I've been knowing for years. And I will say that this Liz once offered me to go fuck her.
Could be fake, could be real. I just brought it up because it ties into her husband, someone known as Zeph, being a cuck.
How do you feel about the fact that Liz is living with her ex-husband?
Yeah,
And
you're not sure.
most likely, if reality is a thing, taking the dick from him. What's your opinion on that situation, Zach?
Okay, I'll give you guys an honest answer. I'll give you Schmeckel an honest answer. One, I don't really care for Fred being there, honestly. But then again, we have an emotional connection, not a sexual one.
Some people had also found about another alias Kraut used on the internet. The Germans are coming. There was apparently a Facebook account at the time that had this alias that was, well, posting some very questionable stuff. Maybe this is a troll account. Kraut definitely seems dumb enough to find this stuff funny. But then you have his comments about Muslims, for which I only have screenshots from before him, but I can definitely see them being real, given some of the content he used to make. Now, the posts from the Facebook account date back from when the drama was going on. So, it's possible some troll who was ahead of the curve might have created the account just to screw over the German YouTuber. Also, I don't know if these are real screenshots, but apparently Kraut is into BDSM and had his dick chopped off. There were allegations of the server being used for doxing. Any response video that Kraut made at the time, he acknowledges that there was some doxing going on the server, but he pins the blame entirely on, the cuck, Zeph. However, other leaks came out showing that Kraut had secretly shared the information of Coach Red Pill behind the scenes. In fact, the info was stored on a separate Discord server called the CRP Task Force. Also, apparently he is racist towards the French.
Fuck you, Frenchman. Jesus, we should have gassed all of them.
This debacle would end up being the subject of a MIDI video series by Mr. Medicare. The debate about skin color realism was over. Kraut had lost in the public eye because he was a quote doxer and, worst of all, an SJW. Now that all that's been said, the opposition also had their own skeletons in the closet. Kraut would return to the internet and post a video on August of 2018 about Coach Red Pill.
Kraut claims that Coach had his full name written in his channel description. Now, this YouTube account that he's showing right here only has 1 subscriber and was not created on the same date as, the actual Coach Red Pill channel that was active at the time. So this is obviously a fake or private account. Kraut is trying to find an easy way out of this one, and it looks bad, but bear with me. In the video, it's shown that Coach used to credit a music label company of his own in his videos. This is also shown in re-uploads of his old content. At the time, when you would look up the company, in fact, you can still do this in the current day, one of the first results would show the address of the business and CRP's real name, Gonzalo Lira. Yes, that Gonzalo Lira. At the time, when you would look up his real name, you would find multiple early 2010 segments of him making appearances on the Russia Today news network as a public figure. So basically, the doxing accusations are a load of crap. Now, one of the things Kraut was able to dig up about Mr. Lira was a blog post from a former business partner, Steve Keem. In said blog post, economist Steve Keem accuses Lira of being a scammer. In late 2018, CRP had agreed with Steve to work on a website where users pay for a subscription to view articles about economics. Steve produced the articles and Gonzalo would manage the website. According to Steve's blog, the revenue was split 50-50. As part of the contract, Echo Chamber Media, CRP's company, would own the website but would have to return it in exchange for $1 if ever Steve wanted ownership back. In January 2013, Steve decided to stop working on the site. He asked Gonzalo Lira to return ownership of the website and remove the yearly subscription option to, quote, avoid having to refund too much money. Lira did not give back ownership of the website and did not get rid of yearly subscriptions either. Subscribers were still being charged for a service they weren't receiving, all while the website was being advertised under Steve Keem's name. Steve Keem had to come out with a post on his personal blog about the situation. Coach would later respond to this on one of JS streams to these allegations that had resurfaced. He doesn't name Steve Keem by name, but he says that he did indeed work with the guy on the website, and he does admit to withholding money. However, he claims that Steve wasn't being scammed, and that he also had the power to cancel the memberships.
Gotten another university position, and so he basically wanted out, and I didn't want that, and so of course we had an impasse. And this is a perfectly normal thing between adults who are involved. He had access to the credit card processing by which all the payments were processed. Of course, he had access to all the information to see it, and it was there was no legal dispute whatsoever. There was a business dispute. A fighting over... I don't have the contract in front of me, and in point of fact, it's in storage in another continent, literally. But the idea was that he had this website. Now, it was necessary for my company to have possession of the website in order to carry out all of the infrastructure developments that had to be put in place, specifically the issue of the credit card.
Now, perhaps Steve wasn't a victim here. It's not like his contract was available on the internet for me to see. However, unless I'm missing something, it seems like Coach Red Pill was still scamming the subscribers out of their money.
Kraut's explanation for sharing info about CRP was to warn others of its potential to scam people. Even if that wasn't the real intention, it was still a warning that shouldn't have gone ignored. But it was, because Kraut ran a gay off server and was into cock and ball torture, and that's all what mattered to the alternative right.
Kraut was ran off the internet, and the video he later made about CRP was largely ignored. The skeptics who were in the server or had defended Kraut took a huge dent to their credibility, and Iworski would distance himself with that crowd and would change his stance on skin color realism in December. Yes, internet drama convinced this man that black people were inferior. Andy would also choose to hire Jeff Gariepi as a co-host for Worski Live. Having alienated SkepticTube, these two would seek out a new market. Kraut's blood sacrifice may have been the first, but it wouldn't be the last.
In late 2017, early 2018, emerged a new genre of live streams. So, you know how Twitch has, or used to have, so-called debate bros, if that rings a bell? Well, Internet Blood Sports was the far-right equivalent to that. There were entire programs dedicated to this content. Among would be Worski Live. This new audience was tired of seeing the skeptics jerking each other off. They wanted to see the people argue about ethno-states and other far-right nonsense. Part of the amusement came from watching folks getting cancelled over the internet, like with Kraut, and in some cases, people getting their lives torn apart. As for the debates themselves,
lying, cock-sucking faggot, motherfucker! You wanna holler over me every fucking second? I can just scream over you too, you piece of shit, motherfucker! Keep fucking running your mouth! I'll just keep hollering, you motherfucking piece of shit! Eat a fucking cock!
While somewhat trying to emulate this content, JF would want Worski Live to be a place for intellectual exchanges. Prominent figures on the right would get invited to the show to reach a slightly wider audience. I say prominent with a little sarcasm, because I don't know how many people watching my video are going to remember, or even recognize, Richard Spencer or Sargon of Akkad. But I guess those two were somewhat relevant at the time because the stream where they debated was the most popular on YouTube when it was live. Around the same time, Jean-François would threaten a defamation lawsuit against Twitch streamer, debate bro, and consent expert Destiny.
Phrasing because the tweet's deleted. But you said, essentially, JF is the guy that had to have the state intervene because he was too busy fucking retards. What the fuck is that about?
Well, once again, there's some extra context needed. As I said in Chapter 1, John was at risk of getting sent back to Canada following his divorce, because his visa was expiring. He was battling for custody of his child who could have served as an anchor baby. He may have knew in advance that he was going to lose, so he quickly began looking elsewhere.
The second disclosure I'd like to make is that I have experience with false allegations myself. So this is a very personal by woman. Just to give you an idea, and I cannot believe that I'm stating this, while I'm not a millionaire nor running for presidency, I've been facing more false accusations in court this year than Trump in his entire life.
Destiny fans were able to find court documents about a separate case in 2016 that was occurring alongside the child custody case with his wife. There was a 19-year-old mentally disabled woman who, impressed by Jeff's rap skills, decided to get in contact with him. The Quebecer invited her to his house to raise a family and to host a cooking show. The mentally disabled partner, who had never been in a relationship before and had always lived with her parents, would drive across state lines to go live with a man. Her father was not too happy about this one. One thing leads to another, and JF finds himself fighting over a child custody case of a 19-year-old. Unfortunately, the white supremacist was not able to get an anchor baby out of this woman. JF had told his story in the past, painting himself as the victim, and lamenting how the state kidnapped his girlfriend, all while leaving out certain details.
Yeah, from autism? Like how bad was the autism?
Good question. According to a psychiatric evaluation in the court docs, the woman had the mental immaturity of an 11-year-old. When confronted by Destiny on this point, JF simply resorts to calling him a moral fag.
Okay, Destiny,
age of consent, but okay.
I chain-fucked women of the age of 18, 19, barely legal woman on the east coast of America, non-stop, okay? And I don't give a flying shit.
This story just keeps getting worse. The Daily Beast would later come out with an article on a story titled "Alt-Right YouTuber Accused of Trying to Lure Teen in Pregnancy Plot." Also, there was this thing where when people would Google the words French rapist, apparently at the time, one of the first results would be Jeff's face. In March 2018, there were rumors of Jean-François and Andy Worski having a falling out because of something Andy said on a show called The Kumite, but it appears like his words were misconstrued.
And what I said on Kumite is that the shows, for me, they were oversaturated with debates, which I told you before, and I was getting, as well. I felt like I was, and at no point when I said this, because yesterday I watched some of your stream and got some DMs, at no point did I say fuck JF, he's out.
It seems, according to JF, that these rumors were being spread by trolls on Discord.
But then one of my Discord users sent me information indicating that there's a group of activists of 100 to 200 people who are coordinating to kick right-wing people from mainstream outlets, and that part of your realizations of today may have been induced by them.
In May 2018, JF and Worski would have an actual falling out. JF claimed that some guy from the Kumite show was trying to get him fired, and Andy felt disrespected or something. It's really not that interesting. From that point on, the French-Canadian would run a show of his own on his channel called The Public Space. The same month, he was going to trademark Internet Blood Sports. I don't know if he succeeded in doing so, but he currently doesn't own the trademark. With The Public Space, Jean would steer away from debates and focus on solo streaming and interviews, essentially marking the end of his blood sports days. But this wouldn't be the end of the story. In the summer of 2018, Jean-François would be seen in a public relationship with a woman dubbed Mama JF. Now, Mama JF is also an eccentric person in her own right. Just like the disabled 19-year-old JF tried to rise up, she left her job, family, and her entire life behind to go live with him.
K. Max McDonald says, Mama Jeff, what is your background? What country do you derive your ethnic heritage from?
I can answer that. Before, I had a bad life, but then after I discovered GF, then I started to look at GF every day. I was always looking at GF. I became crazy. I lost everything I had. I lost my job, my family. I quit school. I lost everything. I was just looking at GF all the time. I was crazy. And then after I wrote to him, I said, GF, I want to suck your dick. And then he told me. And that's my background. Then he fired me. I lost everything, my family, my friends, everything, because I was just looking at GF show all the time.
You've never told me that.
And this isn't the only weird anecdote from her.
He's a pedophile, and before my ex-boyfriend, he brainwashed me into being a pedophile, and I'm so sorry because I go to the rave, I go to people in Montreal, I tell them children have sexuality.
Okay, so essentially they were trying to introduce memes in your brain that, oh, maybe pedophilia is okay, and now you've rejected these memes. It was crap.
No, look, it's sure children can have sexuality, but is it good? Is it something that we want?
Alright, wonderful.
No, it's not good.
I'm not 100% sure what attracts JF towards these mentally challenged people. Maybe it's because they both sound retarded. But I digress. In May, there was far-right graffiti spotted in Montreal. One message reads, Hail Worski, and another says, JF Garepi, King of the World. Camera footage was found of this incident, and it appears the graffiti was probably made by Mama JF. In 2020, Mama JF published a video on a channel of her own, detailing her past hippie life in Europe. During her trip to Europe, she apparently lost the stuff she brought with her, including her passport, hence why she had to live as a hippie. An experience which she does not seem to regret.
Oh my, there's a guy, I don't know why, but he took all my stuff, everything I had, like my violin, my backpack, my hammock, everything, and my passport too. He took everything. Okay, after that, I had nothing at all. I had nothing. That was great. That was an amazing moment of my life when I lost everything I had, and then I would just walk somewhere. I had no more problems. I would just wake up and go somewhere, and God would always take care of me of anything I want.
She details meeting a boyfriend in Europe who wanted to go live in the jungle like Tarzan. The couple, who were staying in Spain at the time, decided to head towards the jungles of the Congo without any further planning or ID papers.
And there, I met a very important guy, okay? His name is and he was a German guy. He was a German Aryan phenotype, like with the blonde hair, you know, like like this, and he became my boyfriend. But this guy is fucking crazy. He was young, like me. I was 19, he was 21, and he was traveling for like 5 years, and he wanted to go live in the jungle, okay, to make his life there and just eat the fruits and the trees and just get away from society and just be like animals, you know, like just make babies in the forest. That would be much more natural, he said. And he was a funny guy, okay? And so he told me, come with me, Mama GF. Hey, even back then, my name was Mama GF, okay? Yes, you know, me, a guy who tells me something like this, like, let's go live in the jungle, you know, away from society, it's like, it really works for me. Like, the closest jungle was in Africa, okay, in the Congo. So we had a big project of going there, making our life there, just burning our passports and burning everything and just live there yeah. And he was very clever. So what we did, we went to live in the port of Spain, okay? He had the illumination, okay? I don't know where he got that clip from his head, but he said, hey, I know a place where we can go, and it belongs to Spain, but it's on the African continent, okay? So we can just take a boat and go there, and like this, we're gonna be in Africa already. Then we just have to find a way to go to Congo, you know? That's it. So that was very clever of him. I don't know where he took this information from, but this, yeah, there's a place in Africa. It's called Septa or Sirta. I don't know how you say this. And it's in Sunday morning. There was a big like Arab market. I don't know, and there was plenty of Arab girls who came from one side to the other. I think they were buying stuff or something. I don't know. And there was like plenty of them. So me, I just put a scarf, I don't know how you call it, and I disguised like a Muslim, and so I just went through there, and they didn't ask me for nothing. That was so in Morocco. We hitchhiked, okay, and through the whole Sahara Desert until I don't know which country is on the south, but then they asked me for my passport again. So we didn't know what to do. So after we came back and we got stuck there, we were in every city in Morocco. We were there like 3 months, but that was fun.
Also, there's a weird moment from one of JF's streams in which she accuses a guest of his, No White Guilt, of trying to murder her.
Don't say anything violent.
No, I want to.
What do you have to say?
No, I get seriously. You tried to kill me, okay?
Okay.
And I'm fucking sick that you're fucking me with me. You always follow me everywhere, and
All right.
and you say you want to make spiritual movement, but you fucking tried to kill me for 3 years, okay? You're a fucking psychopath, man.
C'est dit, maintenant va-t'en.
This is followed by JF explaining that Mama JF confused his guest with someone who harmed her in the past.
Okay, now I told her to not come back. You don't come back. So,
She has been the victim of acts of violence that were not performed by no white guilt at all. However, as it is the case with some people who are victims of acts of violence, they have difficulties associating who did that to them, and they sometimes unfairly reproach the act to a random person.
In the summer of 2018, there were some episodes of the public space called Educating Emily Yukis on YouTube's TOS. Maybe he wanted to make her his co-host, or maybe he was looking for an opportunity to pass down his genes. Now, normally this wouldn't be interesting, but Jean-François isn't a very interesting woman. Emily Yukis, for the unaware, is an artist who used to make these grotesque flash animations, back when these types of animations were popular. One of, if not her most iconic work, is Alfred's Playhouse, a miniseries about a little dog suffering from trauma and abuse. Emily probably made this as an edgy response to her own childhood trauma. Emily later made herself known in Philadelphia for selling snacks at sports events, with people having dubbed her the Pistachio Girl.
Doing this since 2010, and I gained a cult following throughout the years, and everybody loves the Pistachio Girl. Say, Pistachio!
In 2016, she received a call from Hyperborea telling her to make anti-Semitic posts and to support the alt-right, hence why she was briefly on JF's show.
Jeopardize your YouTube channel in any way, but I do think we need to nuke Africa.
As you can see, this didn't work out too well. On September 29th, 2018, Jean-François and a few other people from these weird corners of the internet were joined on a special edition of the Kill Stream, called the Heal Stream, where money was being raised for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, while guests debated about the JQ. An article from the Wall Street Journal about the stream later came out. The news article talked about the donations done through Super Chat, and how some of them contained racist messages. The article would result in the Kill Stream being banned around the time of the article's release. And, more interestingly, St. Jude's Hospital would refund its donations. There's many reasons to not like the Kill Stream and its owner Ethan Ralph, but comments made by other users is a weird one. I don't know, the Wall Street Journal may have had an anti-YouTube agenda back in 2017. But forget the Wall Street Journal. St. Jude's decision to refuse donations from internet racists does raise an interesting dilemma. Obviously, in their case, it was probably a PR move. But you, your viewer, would you accept money from a horrible person if it was for a good cause? Well, Jean-François would argue that yes, you should indeed take the money. In November 2018, Jean's audience would learn about a certain donor that helped jumpstart Jeff's career on YouTube back in the Neuro TV days.
I didn't, I'm sorry.
Okay, because I announced that just for transparency, because I was talking about a news item about Jeff Epstein, and I announced that yes, God. Jeff Epstein has once contributed to the start of my YouTube channel with a $25,000 check, and that since then my YouTube channel has kind of taken a different direction, and people were scandalized. They were like, Jeff is an agent of a Jewish millionaire rapist. And as I
He's that person. You were joking, I presume.
No, I'm not joking. This is real.
So, dear viewer, if it was for a noble cause, would you accept money from Jeffrey Epstein? Anyways, JF has ties to everyone's favorite island owner. Now, some of you must be thinking, this can't be real. And while his name doesn't appear in the list of those who visited Little St. James Island, an archive does show NeuroTV being advertised on the website of the Epstein Foundation. How's that for an endorsement? Oh, and NeuroTV directly mentions the foundation in one of his videos, showing that this donation was indeed real. This sparked a lot of outrage and suspicion in the alt-right audience, with people wondering if Jean-François' ties to Epstein went any further. In an interview on a French channel, Jean-François says the only interaction was through text messages, where the billionaire simply asks where to send money.
Cette fondation Jeffrey Epstein, attendez, j'avais une question à ce sujet. Et d'ailleurs, sur le site de sa fondation, vous apparaissez encore en première page. C'est votre chaîne actuelle.
YouTube sur la science, Neuro TV. Et puis donc, j'ai envoyé des emails à plusieurs philanthropes et ça a été lui qui a répondu et puis qui m'a envoyé 25 000 $ américains à l'époque. C'était soit en 2014-2015, je me souviens plus exactement.
Vous disiez qu'il vous avait répondu où envoyer l'argent.
Oui, il m'a répondu where to send money. C'était 4 mots. Et il y avait même pas de... Ça a été les seuls mots que j'ai reçus de lui parce que je l'ai jamais rencontré en personne. J'ai jamais reçu d'autres réponses de lui. Alors je crois que c'était les seuls mots qui sont venus de lui vers moi.
However, he did meet with assistance of Jeffrey Epstein.
Je me souviens avoir conduit à New York pour parler à une de ses assistantes. Et puis elle me disait, en ce moment, c'est la merde. On est en train d'essayer de dealer avec toutes ces attaques contre Jeffrey.
Ah oui, donc vous avez rencontré une de ses assistantes.
Je l'ai jamais vu en personne, mais il faisait travailler ses femmes et qui venaient nous voir dans des restos ou dans des cafés.
Sometime after getting fired, Jeff would have received a job offer from Victoria's Secret, a female underwear company owned by Wexner, Epstein's employer in the 90s and 2000s.
It stunned me because this whole Victoria's Secret link, I hadn't thought about it, but it awakened a memory in my mind. I've been offered a job by Victoria's Secret in 2016, and it was bizarre. It was like someone just contacting me saying, Jeff, you have a $60,000 a year job waiting for you. And now I realize I may have been a target of this entire ring. Because there's a personal name in it, but a senior recruiter contacts me and says, Jeff, we want you to look at women's underwear and translate all of this to the French market.
In this video, Jeff comes to the conclusion that this was probably a job that would involve him in human trafficking, as Epstein tended to go after models. But instead of working for Epstein, he would end up working for Worski. I honestly don't know which would have been worse. So yeah, unless I'm missing something, that's about it. What a weird piece of trivia. In December 2018, Jeff would publish a book called The Revolutionary Phenotype. I haven't read the book, but the description claims that DNA was created billions of years ago by external life forms. Aliens, perhaps? And that biotechnology will destroy humanity. First it was the terrorists, and now we have biotech doomsday on the way. Thanks a lot, America. Around this time, he also had a reunion stream with Andy. In the past, Jean-François had posed as an advocate for free speech, calling out Kraut's crew for trying to get his videos removed, and accusing Kraut of using doxing as a method of silencing people.
Yeah, and that's why I'm interested in making this video. I don't want to see a precedent developing on YouTube where this is a fair tactic to go into the personal lives of people, because the creation of new ideas on YouTube depends on the ability of people not to self-censor. And if I'm a YouTube creator and I know that potentially my name would be revealed, I will be inhibiting some stuff, and I don't want this stuff to be inhibited.
However, 1 year later, this guy had developed a habit of false reporting videos.
I enjoy the new situation. I enjoy the current YouTube environment. I think that at this point it's not about gaining fame, it's about crushing the opponent, getting them off of the platform by striking them. And I really enjoy this new mode.
Wait, you been striking people?
Oh yeah, I mean, I report people regularly.
Not much happened in 2019. A video from YouTuber Nicholas Yorio was made on Jaw, a video which partially inspired the creation of this one, that you're watching right now. Worski, who had a falling out with JF, also made 2 videos of his own on the guy. From what I understand, Worski had been accused of rape because of some clip that resurfaced where he admits to stealthing.
Well, this is the story I was telling. The condom was too tight, like it was hurting my dick, and she was drunk. So during the sex, I pulled my dick out. And
Maybe
I
you're
pulled
just in the wrong
condom off.
hole.
No, I pulled the condom off. No, it was like I didn't get the proper fucking Trojan ones that I usually get. It was some random gas station ones that were so tight. I'm like, this is like Asian fit.
Fucking bullshit one.
Yeah, it was like Asian fit or something.
Buying
so
condoms
I
in
roll it
Chinatown.
off. Yeah, and then I fuck her without the condom on.
Worski wanted to sue his accusers. The thing is, in Canada, where Worski and I live, stealthing is a sexual offense. This probably wasn't the case back when this thing happened, but this defamation lawsuit obviously wasn't going to go anywhere. JF thought so too.
Here, Andy, why don't you not sue Right Wing Watch? Why don't you sue me? I'm gonna say it right here. Sounds like rape to me.
This was probably what prompted Worski to put out the Twisted Mind of JF Gariepi Part 1 and 2. Now these videos are what I would describe as an idiot's best attempt at making a hit piece essay, so I'm not going to bother you with it. Now, despite the hit pieces made on him and YouTube becoming less and less favorable towards alt-writers, JF would keep making his content. In early 2020, one of the more prominent far-right YouTubers, Nick Fuentes, had his account terminated. Now, a lot of people on right-wing Twitter were disappointed with Team YouTube, and in the case of the more paranoid, angry at Israel. But not many noticed Jean-François immediately taking credit for getting Fuentes reported. He, an alt-writer, thanked the Antifa for helping with the mass flagging campaign. So, horseshoe theory confirmed, I guess. In the summer of 2021, Mama JF had left the house. Because of this, Jean-François had plans to organize a competition to replace her. Mama JF did, however, return shortly after. In 2021, probably in an attempt to avoid censorship, JF made a new YouTube channel called JFG Tonight. The channel is still up, it seems, but the videos are unavailable. Jean-François would instead stream on Odyssey, where the audience is smaller, but the moderation team is less likely to ban him. In 2023, of the 20th of June, Jean-François would announce once again that Mama JF has left the house. This time, she would not come back.
The reason I was away from the show is that there were big changes here in the home. Mama JF has abandoned the family once again. It's really too bad. It sucks. And it's not something that I wanted, but it is just, that's just what it is.
On the 4th of October of that same year, JF would announce on Twitter that Mama JF had been reported missing since late September, with her last being seen in the 19th of June, according to the RSMP's website. Now, if you've heard about this case already, or have been watching the video up until now, then you can probably guess where this is going.
So yeah, so they wake me up every morning. There are days where they come once, where there are days where they come twice. There's always a truck of the feds in front of my house.
The A-logs keeping up with JF were immediately suspicious of Jean-François. The neuroscientist didn't seem all that concerned with the disappearance of his loved one. On top of that, there was a rather interesting clip of the stream he made in June 20th, one day after his wife's last sighting.
And Mama JF has left me with everything that matters in life, what matters most of life. And so, what can I do? I cannot hate her, I cannot be frustrated about this, and that's it. So that's why I had to take 3 days total to... I made so much cleaning, so much reinstalling, so much plastering of the walls, construction, renovation. I wanted to set the home in the way I like it. It's like sterilize this.
So in a stream where he announced his wife left 2 months before the investigation, he did a deep clean of his entire house. Yeah. Of course, as suspicious as this is just circumstantial evidence. Jeff would claim that he cleaned his house because women are messy, and his reason for tearing apart parts of his wall, according to a 2025 interview, was to retrieve information about his secret Bitcoin stash that he had hid from his crazy bitch. Still a little weird. JF claimed that his wife had planned this trip for a long time and had been stockpiling on camping gear.
So she left and she had a whole plan. She had bought camping material. She was on her way to some sort of survivalist trip, from what I understood.
Some believe that this contradicted the description of Mama JF on the Mountie Police's website, as she was said to only be wearing a backpack in the last sighting of her. It seems a backpack wouldn't be enough to store all that camping material, but we don't know how big was the backpack. Just like with the case of the disabled 19-year-old, this disappearance was attracting the attention of other political streamers, but also of a few true crime YouTubers. Jeff would have a few interviews with them, but they aren't very good. The only interesting thing is that Jeff quit one of those interviews when asked why Mama JF would leave her kids behind, because yes, she had kids with him.
Heard the phrase prima facie.
Yeah, because you don't know Latin and I don't have time to teach you.
No, you're right. I'm so stupid. Anyway, it's hard being this dumb sometimes, but thank you for having the patience to talk to me. But I do know that it is a crime to abandon your kids, and Mama J seems like a really wonderful woman, and fuck, I triggered him that bad. He left. I was really.
Mama JF, when she left me, she was very clear. Right. She said, I want you to find a wife to care for the family.
Another thing that made people suspicious of Jean-Francois was the fact that he didn't report it to the police. And that being said, he was the one who dropped Mama JF off in the wilderness, or in the rural areas.
So that is what I've been knowing since June. And of course you're faced with the big, should I call the police? This is a willing woman, a willing adult woman, doing her willing stuff. So I've not called the police, because in my view, there was no evidence of criminality. There was no evidence of distress. It looked like, to me, someone who has decided to go survivalism. Will I report? I would be very surprised that I'm even considered a suspect in any way. Because I have left records, I have left electronic traces of my dropping her alive in front of cameras of a gas station. And
Jeff had also talked about Mama Jeff attending raves not long before leaving, around that time. Raves which Jeff was not fond of.
Your wife is into I've heard her speak a little bit on the subject, but it sounds like she's very into music festivals and hippie lifestyle and not being tied to anything and being off the grid and stuff like that. Is that accurate?
Exactly. Absolutely. She's been in those parties. She calls them parties.
Yeah.
But they are places of degeneracy that I do not approve.
Yeah.
Oh, well, street life creates an addiction, and she was always into partying, and she was lacking this kind of excitement of the party life that she used to live before a while. But for people who know about street life and everything that goes with it, and I wouldn't reveal exactly what she took, what she did, because I think it's her private life, ultimately. I don't think people are entitled to it. But you can easily guess how this life of party can pull someone back when they are addicted to it.
So I don't know, maybe he got cocked and decided to kill her. At the time, like many onlookers, I thought that the guy had probably killed his wife in some way. However, after doing the research for this video, I have grown more skeptical of this narrative. I'm not saying Jeff wouldn't be able to cover up a murder scene. Well, I don't know, the rumors about him are a little silly. However, returning to Monkey isn't out of character for Mama JF. Like I had shown previously, she used to roam around with hippies in Europe and tried smuggling herself into Africa to go live in the Congolese jungle. Jeff is a spouse who wants control, but we're talking here about a woman who likes to go naked in public. Yeah, I forgot to mention that in the section about her. Now, you can say what you want about Jean dropping off his wife near the woods, and his paranoid behavior will always seem off, but I'm going to make an educated guess that he didn't kill his wife. Now, the police investigation on this disappearance is still ongoing. They have yet to convict a neuroscientist of anything, and Mama JF has still not been found. Maybe she's buried under some potato patch. Maybe Jean has some of her body parts kept in his lab. I don't know. In 2024, according to JF, a new investigator was put in charge of this investigation. According to JF, this new investigator is a woman, and apparently she doesn't like him.
And when I saw this letter come in, you have to cut your grass or we're gonna fine you. I'm like, okay, I don't mind cutting the grass. But that told me there's a bunch of fucking wine hunts after me. And I knew this couldn't be good. On top of it, the Major Crimes Division gets a new woman investigator. She's super interested in my new relationship. And the first thing she asks, aren't you going too fast with your new girlfriend? Because of course, I have a new girlfriend and I've introduced her into the family.
Again, I'm using Jeff's word here, but apparently he got apprehended by 6 police cars in Quebec, only to be asked if he was going too fast with his new partner. Very odd. Sounds like he's leaving out context. Then again, this guy tweets a lot of crazy shit, so this could be made up. Out of paranoia, he decided that he was going to move to a more western province. I say out of paranoia, but it could have been because some of those provinces have lower income tax rates. Goodbye, Quebec. This was my last entry in this shithole.
Because I'm currently in a safe place with my family. The local
It's in an
police
undisclosed location. Mm-hmm.
At this whole case, and they were getting these pressures from Quebec and from Prince Edward Island to say, hey, go get this guy.
It's not
He's
Florida.
escaping us.
The floor,
The
not
local
straight.
police was like, what has he done? What?
Jean had supposedly made his wife sign legal stuff so that he could handle her things in her absence.
Mama Jeff was kind enough to not give me trouble, that she went to her lawyer before leaving me and ensured that I could manage her things in her absence.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so she physically went to the lawyers.
Absolutely.
Despite this, there are still things that required the help of a lawyer when JF was moving. According to his own words, no lawyer wanted to help him do whatever he needed to, all except for one.
So I look at the office and it's like Tin Chang Do, master of the law, blah, blah.
Yeah, obviously, Tin Chang Do is not the lawyer's real name.
And she's like, Mr. Tin Chang Do is arriving. And she opens the door. I look at the door and I see nothing. And I'm like, holy shit, is he small or something? And suddenly he pops in the door and he's like, ha Jeff! Holy shit. The guy is a North Korean style, South Korean. He's a Korean guy, but he's built like a super muscled David Duke, like super jawline, and his muscles are popping out of his fucking shirt.
Jean-Francois is still active to this day on Odyssey and Twitter. Aside from sucking Elon's dick, he posted not too long ago tweets detailing his relation with Epstein. I knew Jeff Epstein personally, and never deceived my audience into having much expectations about the Epstein files that would be released. Much of the excitement around these releases is pushed by people who do not truly understand how Zionist political extortion works. You won't find incriminating evidence about higher-ups in those files. You won't find smoking gun recordings of explicit extortion. That's not how people like Epstein work. My first contact with Epstein was in 2014 when I was overlapping my academic research work with a neuroscience show in a blooming YouTube market for independent creators. I didn't know Epstein was a pedo, but I knew there was a millionaire out there giving money to scientists, and as sexual allegations were starting to emerge about him, I assumed he may have been cavalier with women, but that the allegations were probably exaggerated, as well was the case so often in this era of Me Too. Knowing this, my instinct led me to design a strategy that would attract Epstein to fund my project. I pushed the idea that the project would feature women in science. Knowing the circles were honing onto him, I thought it would appeal. He bit my bait. He responded to an email saying the following, where to send money. A few weeks later, a $25K check from the US Virgin Islands came to my mailbox. There I realized that I understood this man better than he understood himself. I then set my mind on an idealistic goal that seems ridiculous today. I would attempt a rapprochement with Epstein, with the goal of convincing him to lead a monogamous lifestyle. As of today, I think I could have succeeded if the feds hadn't gotten to him before I could. What I could tell you about extortion rings of this kind is that they operate extremely subtly, with almost nothing ever said. I remember a time where I sat in a New York cafe with Epstein's assistant, massage scheduler. Thanks for coming. It's been quite hectic with all the, allegations. I was presenting to her the opportunity for Epstein to fund a second season of my show or my book. We had a contention that led him to refuse. My position was that he had to fund us as free thinkers, who owed him nothing, that it was better that way, that the new internet media was headed this way anyways, and that the age of central control was over. He didn't like that. He wanted an institution that he could overtake at some point. He didn't want individual thinkers benefiting from his money. They could run away from his plantation at any time. He wanted central control, and he wanted every individual in the show to be either owned or disposable. That is how political extortion works. It's subtle. Amazingly, today we can say that Epstein was right and I was wrong. Independent thinkers aren't standard. Almost everyone you see here is part of some centrally controlled stable. Epstein may have died, but his spirit has succeeded. Another instance of interaction came when I was out of academia, and some recruiting agent suddenly contacted me by email offering me a $60,000 to $80,000 job watching naked female models wearing underwears for the biggest underwear company on the planet, owned by a friend of Epstein. I realized this was a kickback from Epstein 2 years after. 2 years after I rejected the offer, because for family reasons, I couldn't move to another state to get the job. Given the subtlety, I was being recruited by the Epstein network and didn't even realize it. Please understand the files probably don't contain much. Having interacted with Epstein, what I can tell about him is this. He wasn't a misogynist. He was in fact a feminist. An adorer of women to the excessive point of his own destruction. He was from a generation of Jews who elevated hedonistic sex to a pathological extent. He dreamed of a world that would be dominated by women, scientists, CEO, etc. His sex acts were merely his awkward way to try and achieve his unrealistic utopia. Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Another tweet reads, there is a discussion emerging about Epstein, and has led to the misconception that Epstein operated a blackmail pedo ring for Mossad. The evidence is very flimsy that any video was explicitly used by Epstein to have people do things. Some of what he was doing may have partly been learned from explicit blackmailing operation techniques, but most of the extortion he engaged in was unspoken. Epstein systematically recruited women in their age range of top attractivity, which you can measure in men to be for women in the ages of 12 to 19. Okay, I think that's going to be enough for this video.
So yeah, that was the story of Jean-François Garipy. Quite the tale, one that has fascinated me because of, how someone with such a seemingly bright future in the scientific field threw that all away to become some obscure racist internet streamer. But yeah, thanks for watching this video. Don't mass report me. Subscribe to the Odyssey channel, and goodbye.